So could we start by asking you a bit about the book? Like, what's it about? What can people expect when they pick up a copy?
They can expect an adventure story that's set on a Caribbean island that involves the crew of certainly not a blockbuster film, just a regular run of the mill film being made about the result of people in the story getting caught up in a revolution. It's set in the 60s on an island that is very much involved with the American government in that area at the time. And what happens basically is that the crew go out there to make a film about a revolution and they get caught up in a real live revolution.
That's
Wow.
so cool.
It's just it's a way of showing how vulnerable film units and television units are to anything going wrong, particularly in an area that's supposedly very stable, which is why they've gone there in the first place. And that stability is just all upset in ways that really rebound on them. And it just literally, the whole thing's risking going up in smoke. It's an adventure story that involves a film crew going away on location and things start to go wrong right from the very beginning.
So what was the inspiration for turning that into a fiction book? Because obviously you could have written about your own experiences. What made you want to turn it into a fiction story?
Well, I wrote an autobiography in 2010, 2011. So I wasn't really into doing anything, about me being involved in anything at all. It was not intended to be in any way autobiographical. It's just that over the years, I came out of the oil business I was an amateur actor and I came out of that business and into the entertainment business via the theatre. And then gradually, as I started to work in film and television, I realized there was a similarity because I was finding myself working with crews of people, often in out of the way locations, in the same way that I've been doing that in the oil business and then the electrical power line business, and began to realize that on the crew there was somebody who did the same thing that I did back in those days when I was running crews of guys. That character within the film and television industry is the first assistant director. They are the person who is the keystone of the whole operation. Everything relies on what they do. I began to realize, right, there's a story in this about how the film and television business, which is all glamour and glitz and red carpets and parties and champagne and everything else, really has nothing to do with it. That's the kind of the end result. What it's really all about is people who go out to work every day, the people in the crew. They're the people who are crucial to the whole thing. They are the people that take care of you. They are the people that make us turn a script into a film. And you as an actor, well, sometimes you're on it very little and sometimes you're on it a lot, but it's really, I wanted to show the reality of what this business is all about, and it isn't about actors.
So did you base any of the characters on like real crew members you met? So is Killian Wilde a real first assistant director, or have you just based
No, they're all just composites.
Okay.
I've worked with first assistant directors who are women. I've worked with them who are men. And so there was no point sort of like, I decided, okay, I'm going to make this up because back in the day when I was in my 30s, when this idea of telling this story it kind of started to appear to me as a film.
Mm-hmm.
I only ever thought of it as a film. And when I started to write, somebody dared me. They said, you've got to be able to fictionalize a part of your life. As I started to tell them why they were wrong, I thought, no, you know what you could do? You could write that as a novel. And that's how it came about. So it's a story that I'd carried around for years. But from the time when I could have played that part, somebody in their mid-late 30s, which is kind of, key moments for a first assistant director. They've been in the game long enough to understand what it's really all about and to have gained the experience working their way up the ranks to be able to take care of the shooting of a film. I've had 50 years in this game working all around the world. And, there's plenty of characters to draw and that have got nothing to do with this business at all. So these are inventions. They're composites that have come out of a life traveling the world.
I'm intrigued to know, like a lot of writers say they have to have certain things sort of around them when they're writing. Did you have any sort of rituals, like things you had to have on your desk or something when you were in the writing process?
No, I'm no, just settle in, get my iPad fired up, and off I go. That's it.
Nice. Yeah. Did you find it quite a smooth process? Like, did it come very fluidly,
Yeah,
like writing?
I couldn't stop it. It just came rolling out of me. 14 weeks, that was it, done. 30,000 words.
Mm.
But you know, it started, it had a middle, and it finished. And then, of
Wow.
course, I tear it all to pieces and work with an editor and put it all back together again. Take it out of the first person, put it into the third, so that I was recounting the story. Because you know, if you're a known person to the reading audience, and you start writing it in the first person, they're going to assume this is you. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm years too old to be playing a first assistant director. And so, you know, then I thought, okay, if we switch this to the third, then it can be, you know, people will deal with the fact I'm telling the story.
Yeah.
Well, you've been thinking about this story for so many years. I'm not surprised that you managed to get it on the page so quickly.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, the thing is, as I learned from an old author mate who started off as a journalist, you just get up in the morning and don't start thinking you're going to write a book. You write your 1,000 words. That's it. That's what you do. And if you do that every day, and I do it every day, no matter where I am, that's what I do every day.
Amazing.
And at the end, you know, it's discipline. It's the only way I can do it. No radio, no television, no films, no books, no papers, no nothing.
Mm.
Focus on the project. That's it.
Absolutely.
I can't do it any other way. I have no distractions whatsoever.
No, fair enough. So within the book, without giving too much away or any spoilers, is there a particular like scene or moment that stands out to you as like your favorite?
No, there isn't. I think because the story, the only element of plot that I had was the fact I wanted to show the reality of what might happen if things go wrong on a film set, and how the whole crew would come together to sort out the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those elements, you know, the characters that, you know, the reader will get to know are the people on the crew. So it's them coalescing to make sure that whatever needs to be done is going to be done. So I certainly couldn't pick out something as my favorite scene.
No, I like that response. I think you care more about the message of the book than a particular part.
That's what it is. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's kind of like a tribute to all the people I've worked with over the years.
Yeah.
And if you figure that there's anything from 30 to 150 of people you're going to be working with on the crew, and you've been doing it for 50 years, I don't know how many thousands of people around the world, you know, Australia, India, China, France, all over Europe, America, North and South. It's like thousands of people.
Yeah.
And realizing that you run into a sound man in India, that sound man's going to be just the same guy working on it in South America. They're just those characters. That type of person does that sort of job around the world. You talk to ordinary working guys, electricians, you know, guys who work on special effects. They're the same people. They're just from another country and they speak a different language, but the characters are the same. No, it's fascinating. It's a totally international industry, and every country in the world has got their version of it.
Well, how much
And
has that industry changed since you got into the whole industry?
well, the whole thing is completely changed by technology. You know, the hullabaloo of getting a film made has been so brilliantly reduced now. You know, when you figure that if you every single scene that you shot on film, every time you did one take, at the end of that take, everybody held their breath to make sure the camera was clean. You know, they're checking for any hairs, as I say, a hair in the gate. And just because the hair in the gate can just render just what you shot completely useless, all of that's gone. You can stop in the middle of a scene, just say, right, pick it up from 2 words back and carry on. So the amount of freedom it gives you now to not be completely held up by tiny little technical hitches. I mean, there are different technical hitches now. And of course, for people who are actually involved in, from the point of view of being the producer or the director or the first assistant director, or the cameraman or the sound engineer, very often at the end of a long, long day, they would all be bundled into a car and driven 15, 20 miles to get to a cinema somewhere so they can watch the rushes from, a day or 2 days before and sitting there watching it. Well, I've worked with directors, they got it on their phone.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Right through to their phone. They're just watching what they've just shot. Right. I want take 1, I want take 4, and I want take 8. That's it. Done. So they're editing it as they're going along. Well, that's like not even dream time.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's totally changed.
I was going to ask, because we are starting our shows for new presenters here on Nerve Radio in the next week, and you've had some radio experience in the past. Would you have any sort of taking us away from the book, would you have any advice for them sort of coming in for the first time hosting a program?
Know your subject matter inside out.
Yeah.
Do your research. Don't get out there thinking you can blag it out there without doing your research, because you'll be caught on the hop. It's so unnerving. It's really, I remember I got, my agent said, oh, the boss man at LBC would like to talk to you. So I said, okay, fine. Well, I didn't know what LBC was back then, because I was, completely fixed on Radio 4.
Yeah.
I go along to talk to this guy, and we had a lovely time. And at a certain point, he said, so why are you here to see me? And I thought, oh, no. Well, I said, well, because, I just assumed maybe you thought I could maybe do some interviewing, because I've been doing stuff on the One Show. And so he said, well, then he started to talk to me about what I was all about, what I felt strongly about, what my politics were. And so I started to, give him the lowdown on everything I thought. And he said, right, would you be interested in just speaking like that on the radio? Very straightforward. So I said, yeah, I would. Because the whole thing with the whole ethos with LBC is like, in terms of who they get on the radio, you ain't on there unless you've got an opinion. That's it. Anybody that hasn't got an opinion on something. So I just went on there, and then they had to, they give you a tryout. They get you, like one of the guys, a guy called Clive Bull, that used to be one of their regular hosts. That they said to him, do you mind having a night off? We're going to get him to take your slot. So put you out there with a live audience, And I tell you, that first time, you're flying by the seat of your pants, I tell you. So know what you're talking about.
Good advice.
Very
good.
We wanted to ask you just like a fun uni-related question. We were going to ask you, if one of your characters, say like Mick from Gavin and Stacey, came to uni, what do you think he would have studied? Like, what societies do you think he would have joined?
Well, that's 2 different questions. What would he have studied, and what societies would he have joined? And Mick Shipman's a bit of an enigma, really.
Yeah.
I don't know what he would have done. I don't know. Underwater basket weaving, probably, something like that.
Good answer.
Fair enough. And then our final question, just sort of like to prepare our fellow students for when you do come down here on the 24th of October, what's your like one bit of advice you would give someone that wants to break into the TV or film industry?
Woof. Well, if you've gotten into a training scheme or a university or a college or whatever, where you are basically getting a chance to get into an industry which is notoriously difficult to get into, make sure you do not waste any second to be involved in anything that could be loosely or, clearly associated with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do everything you can. If somebody wants somebody to hold a mic, if somebody wants somebody to help build a piece of a set, to work on the costumes, to make the sandwiches, you just do anything.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about personalities. It's all about getting on with people. And that's like the one thing I've tried to incorporate into the book is the reality of it becomes like an extended family.
Mhm.
And the only way to be a successful part of an extended family is to be a positive force within it.
Mhm.
No negative stuff at all.
Mhm.
There's no room for it. There's no room for jealousy. There's no room for envy. There's no room for that. You don't have time for it. You've got a set amount of time to get your foot in the door and then work your way through to where you can get a go at it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
just understand you better be, you don't have to run around being Mr. Nice Guy to everybody, but you be careful and just make sure you're part of that family.
Mhm.
Mm.
No, I think that's great advice.
Good advice. Very
Yeah.
good.
Well, that's all the questions we've got time for today. We can't wait for you to come here to be you on the 24th. Yeah, and good luck with the rest of the book tour.
Lovely. Cheers to you.